have him lead in since you're the returning hero from Odysseus? It's like Odysseus's moment, right? Doesn't he hit the beach and then give a big speech or something?
Is this the hero's journey of a podcast?
Welcome back, JJ.
Hello.
That's JJ. Michael's here.
Hey, everybody.
I'm Andy. This is We Were Gamers, episode God knows. And
same podcast, nothing changed.
No, I'm always one behind or ahead, and I don't want to be wrong. It's all good. You're back, buddy.
Yeah, I made it. I was on vacation for quite a while there, and then the holidays also showed up there, as they do at the end of every year.
Generally. Yep.
Most years. 2018 was quite a year, so who knew? You could never be sure.
You cannot. You're true. Yeah, we'll see. 2019 could be the same. Who knows? Who can say?
Who knows? But yeah, everything. I am doing well. Back in this time zone and on this podcast.
On this continent? On this hemisphere? On this...
I think I actually was on this hemisphere the whole time.
Wait, because there's northern and eastern and western.
Oh, okay.
Sure, the spheres work like that.
Yeah.
Wait, what? No, they do.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
You're right. I hadn't thought about the eastern and western part. I don't know where the prime meridian is.
You crossed it because you crossed the date line.
Right. Okay. I forget that the prime meridian goes down the date line on the other side of the map. Okay.
Wow.
Exciting talk about geography here on We Were Gamers, a podcast about maps? I don't know.
Wonderful. I love maps. If anyone else loves maps, there's a guy out there isn't it XKCD that also loves maps?
Yes, yeah, and he has opinions about maps.
Strong.
Mercator projection is bad, you all.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we didn't say what it was, but you're back. You said vacation.
Yep.
Where? When? How? How many? How long?
It was extremely wonderful. My wife and I were able to finagle our schedules around the holidays such that we were able to take a honeymoon for, it was more than 20 days. Was it like 23 or something?
So 3 weeks at least.
Yeah, 3 weeks. And then like a day of travel on either end or something like that. And we flew from, here in Southern California out to Tokyo, Japan, where we stayed for a few days.
Wonderful. Did you get to see any live Mario Kart racing?
No. Oh, wait, yes. We did see some people on those go-karts. They weren't dressed up like Mario people, though. One person, the girl, had on a pink dress, but it wasn't like...
It was subtle peach. Got it.
Yeah, I think the Japanese people we saw gave them dirty looks.
Oh, yeah. They're trying to shut that thing down. They don't particularly like that.
But we got to have dinner with a friend of the podcast, Brendan Pritchard, at Sony Entertainment. That was nice.
Very cool.
Yeah. A good friend of mine, and Andy's probably from high school.
Oh, yeah. Sweet. Showed you the town?
Yeah, a little bit. He showed us this really sweet dinner spot. And, we just kind of explored Tokyo a little bit on our own. We were only there for 3 days. The way the flights had worked, our next destination was going to cause us like a 16-hour layover. And instead of that, we're like, what if we just got a hotel for 2 days instead?
It's probably the best option.
Yeah, that's too long. So that's what we did. And it was nice. We saw some stuff. We went to the robot restaurant, which everyone that goes to Tokyo should go to. It's extremely stupid, but very fun.
It's literally the only thing I think that when I got back from Japan, people asked me about. I was like, what are you talking about? And then looked at it later and said, what?
Yeah, that's pretty much the right response. You go and then you leave and you're like, what did I just... It's a lot.
It's a sensory experience.
It is. Yeah, it really is. It's almost completely inexplicable. I could tell you could go look at pictures of it on the internet. They have a website. It's on TripAdvisor and all that stuff. So go check it out. But it's certainly worth going to. It's definitely an experience. Don't get the food. It's real bad.
Oh no.
Just go. I mean, we didn't get the food because everyone told us it was bad.
Like,
so just go for drinks. Yeah.
Medieval times situation.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those.
Okay.
It's definitely like they provide dinner and a show, but and then they sell concessions and intermissions. But you could just not get food and buy drinks and have a better time.
Awesome.
So that's my recommendation. Yeah. And from there, we hopped on a flight. Which, by the way, do you guys know that from Tokyo to Thailand, it is a 7-hour flight? That's really far.
Really?
I didn't realize that was so far away. That's a lot of plane flight.
Well, I think about
I guess you're covering a large swath of China or India, depending on which way you go.
Yeah, it's kind of like
not small countries.
It's like down and across a lot. So anyway, that was surprising to me how far it was. But we landed in Bangkok, the capital, I believe, and we're there for several days as well. Toured some of the old stuff, I like to call it.
The old stuff?
Yeah, when I go on vacations, I like to see all the famous old things, the ancient history, the architecture, the museums, whatever cool stuff they have there. And in Bangkok, there's this really famous temple called the Grand Palace, which is also serves as like the palace for the king. Ceremonial king, just like, England has a king. They also have a king, but he also doesn't matter in the same way that England's queen doesn't matter. And we got to go see that. It was very cool. We had a tour guide with us, so that made it, you could ask them, and he spoke English really well and had conversations about what it was. And we saw the Emerald Buddha, which is a famous Buddha made out of jade, though, not emerald.
Didn't we also see a jade Buddha in China called an Emerald Buddha?
I would believe that.
I'm pretty sure we did.
Something that I would see.
Yeah.
He gave this whole explanation about why it was called that, and it boiled down to emerald is a better word than jade. So,
okay.
In the local language, or
I don't know what it is in the local language. It has a different name. But
okay.
What it's referred to as if you tell people the Emerald Buddha in Thailand, they know what you're talking about.
Got it. Okay. I want to derail you for a second here.
Yeah, I love being derailed.
Okay. You're like one of the only 3 people on the planet. And 2 of them are on this podcast.
I was going to say, are we the other 2?
Literally all this podcast does. So
Yep.
Very on brand.
Yeah. I am happy that you like to tour the old stuff. I have a bad feeling, or not. I have a sinking feeling, not a bad feeling, but a little bit of the Instagram generation and internet advice generation where they tour places for the photo.
For the gram, as they say.
Yeah. And they tour it for the quote-unquote experience of the place, right? So a lot of food, a lot of photo spots, a lot of nightlife. But seeing some places, ancient arts that you cannot see elsewhere, right? Getting the feeling like, oh, well, I can see art anywhere, or I can see old buildings anywhere, especially if you're from America, is not advantageous to cultural development of oneself, I think. Because the oldest buildings in America are on the East Coast, right? And they're really not that old.
Yeah, I mean, my point was just about to say, if you think you can see old things in America, you're wrong. There aren't any.
Well, you could go to the American Southwest and maybe find some of the indigenous...
or you can go down into South America and Mexico and see ruins from the Aztecs and stuff. That's as old as you can get.
Right, but 1,000-year-old temples and art that has advanced before people were even living over here.
Yeah. And I think that stuff is cool. And I want to be able to see. And to be fair, I also like going to the nightlife and eating all the food and experiencing the culture. That stuff is also fun and an integral part of a good trip. But so is going to the museum or seeing the like ancient temples or whatever.
Yeah, and I feel like a grandparent when I suggest that to people, but
I'm, and I'm not Buddhist, and neither is my wife, but we saw a lot of Buddhas on this trip, let me tell you. Just assume, despite what I won't tell you, that every single place we went to, we saw at least one, if not like 15 Buddhas.
Okay.
Like either made of gold or other precious materials or whatever. Just trust me that happened every single day.
Okay. So you found the people from Hangover 2 in Bangkok.
Yeah. No, not really. But Bangkok is a big city. I would say it was probably one of my less favorite destinations. Not that it wasn't nice. It's just that, they have like a lot of canals. It was cool to take a tour of their canals and stuff and see how people essentially just use it like a highway. They have like water taxis and stuff. That was interesting. But then they also have like a elevated subway that works just like every other subway system in the world.
Oh, okay. But is it? It's not as Wild West as it sometimes looks.
No, Bangkok is a big city. If you've been to like New York or other big cities around the world, Paris, London, that kind of stuff, it's a big urban city. It's not that unusual. It definitely has like some Thai flavor that you're not going to get anywhere else. The food is certainly very different. The people are, I felt like a little more like welcoming and stuff, but it's not like, ooh, so exotic. Some of the other places we went are that, not Bangkok.
Street food?
Yes, we ate street food everywhere we went. All of it was great. I don't think there was really anything to worry about with that.
Standouts?
None from Bangkok.
Oh.
I'll get to some food later that we really liked, but in general, I think that as long as if you're worried about the water, in a lot of places, they just, like, you will go into the restaurant and they will just set the empty glass for the water on your table and then give you a bottle of water and open it there and pour it in your glass. So you don't need to worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
If you're worried about the water, then just stay away from the ice. And you're pretty good there.
Yeah. Nice.
So from Bangkok, we then went to Chiang Mai, which is also in Thailand, but a little more northerly and easterly, but it's not in considered the northern part of the country. It's still kind of central-like. And I really, really enjoyed Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai is a little smaller of a town, a little more rural, but not all the way rural, but it's closer to the mountains. There's a lot more like nature and the jungle and stuff around there. And I think the most interesting thing we did there was we went to an elephant preserve.
Ooh,
nice.
And this elephant preserve is one of these ones where the guy doesn't like to say rescue, but they rescue elephants from other places where they're being used for like tourism and stuff. They let people ride them, or they, let people pet them and all that kind of stuff. And they try to rehabilitate them and send them, introduce them into the wild where possible.
And the ones that are not reintroducible, they hang on to?
And allow you to then ride and pet and all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
So we got to ride elephants. We got to feed them and kind of pet them and stuff. They do it in what they consider the most humane way, in that there's no like basket or thing on top. There's no saddle or whatever. You kind of just sit on the elephant's neck. But only after they like. So you go around and you feed and pet all the elephants and stuff, and they kind of make sure that the elephants are like okay with you before you try and jump 10 feet onto their head.
Sure.
Because there's no ladders or like ropes or really any way to get on the elephant, really. There's like one rope that goes around the middle of every elephant, but that's more just so the trainer has like something to like tell the elephant, hey, like over here if they really need to.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's like, oh, well, each elephant was kind of taught slightly differently based on where they rescued it from. So like, oh, this one bends down and you sort of jump over its trunk. And this one you step on its, is it an ankle or a knee or whatever? Anyway, leg, and do this kind of complicated hop motion and swing over like a horse. And this other one does this other way. So like, it's kind of our little group of 5 of us here had like a bunch of different ways to try and get on these elephants. And they try to like pair you up with the elephant they think is going to like you the best after you go around and feed and pet all of them. It was like an all day activity, so we were like feeding them and cleaned them and stuff for 2 hours. And then we rode for like 10 minutes and then we had lunch and then the elephants had lunch. And then we gave them a bath at the end, which was pretty fun. And by bath, I mean there was a river and the elephants laid down in the river and you could like wash them and stuff.
What is it like to wash an elephant?
It's hard work.
just
because they're really big.
But think about it though. Like this is the difference between washing my dog, who I can kind of squat over so that they can't move, and then like getting through scrubbing soap into it as fast as possible and spraying it off and drying it off. Like that's a chore that you do at home with a domestic animal. Like you walked into a river with a gigantic ton, like something that weighs a ton
elephant. Yeah. And it's laying down in the water so that it can be immersed,
Yeah.
And you're like scrubbing it with like a little brush they give you, and you're dumping water on it and all this stuff. And
it's not the petting zoo, man. What is the feeling
that
you
is
get?
Hanging out? I mean, it was interesting. Like by that point we'd been with the elephants most of the day, so you kind of like figured out which ones you liked and which ones you didn't like. The little baby elephant that was there is a little jerk and mean guy. I wanted to use a different word there, but I guess the elephant's way of playing is like running into people. So he'll just like run up.
Oh, he's like a goat,
kind of like headbutt you almost.
Yeah, goats do that.
That's how he plays.
Okay.
Well, he's 128 pounds or whatever, and he's like 3 years old.
Yeah,
he's gonna knock you over.
Yeah, I have the same problem with my dad's goat.
He wasn't knocking any of us over, but anyway, his mom was one of the elephants that was there,
cool.
And she was much calmer and stuff. So
yeah,
but it was a really fun time. That was a relatively expensive thing that we did while we were on that trip, but it was really cool, and I absolutely recommend it. I don't know that it's necessarily like a kid friendly activity because you can't like take a 6-year-old on an elephant. I don't really know how that would work, but maybe teenagers and older kids would enjoy it quite a lot.
Hey,
and there are other things you can do where you don't have to, do that whole experience as well.
Right. To go back 1 second, when you said jerkin and you didn't want to say jerk.
Yep.
I want to thank everybody in 2019 here, you two, being everybody, for sticking to our guns on this non-E related podcast 95% of the time, because man, sometimes it was with my kids home for 3 weeks over break. Basically couldn't listen to 3/4 of the podcasts I normally listen to. So I think it's probably special for a lot of people to be able to listen to stuff that they enjoy with kids around, So thank you both for that. Anyway, not to, again, derail you too much.
No, it's all right. Chiang Mai also had a really cool night market that we went to.
Ooh, cool.
And it happens almost every day, except for on the weekends, when there is a Sunday night market and a Saturday night market, which are just in different places. And like bigger, I guess. Anyway, we had a really great time going to those night markets and stuff. There's tons of street food there that was all really good. We did rolled ice cream. If you guys have ever seen this before, I had never seen it.
Yeah.
Where they like flatten the ice cream out and then like scrape it up into these like rolls. I don't know how to.
Yeah, it's like flash frozen on a giant steel plate.
Yeah. I had never seen that before. That was pretty cool.
There's only a few places that I've seen around us that do it.
Yeah, this was just like a street cart. It was very strange.
How does he keep it? It must be nitrogen or something underneath, keeping it that cold on a cart.
I assume. It was clearly very cold. While it was also very. I mean, to be clear, it was very hot all the time. Like we're talking, I don't know the conversions, but it was like mid to low 30s Celsius all the time, and humidity from like 60 to 80% if it wasn't raining.
Ooh.
It didn't rain too much, mostly like a little quick burst, and then it was done.
The humidity popping out of the air because it was so hot.
Yeah, it was very, very warm. But really beautiful stuff in Chiang Mai. Really, really pretty nature and all kinds of stuff. We went on some hikes that were also really pretty there. There's some waterfalls and stuff that we saw that were great. Chiang Mai, highly recommended. From there, we took a plane to the People's Democratic Republic of Laos, specifically the town of Luang Prabang. which is so named after a Buddha, which is the Luang Prabang Buddha. So there you go. You can guess that we saw that. Yeah. So Laos was actually one of the surprises of the trip. I thought it was my wife's favorite part, and I really enjoyed it as well because it was just so different from Thailand and Japan at that point.
I would think a lot of Americans, especially those that are keen on history, would be maybe apprehensive about going to Laos.
Laos is communist in the same way that China is communist, which means to say that it is capitalist, and they want your money.
With a large amount of people benefiting more than others, is what you mean.
Yes, right. It follows the same one-party system, but with private ownership and all that stuff that China does.
Got it.
It's just that it is a much smaller, landlocked country, and therefore is not as prosperous. Also, it's like really small and in the mountains. But Luang Prabang itself is like a really small town. It's on the peninsula between two relatively sizable rivers, the Mekong River and a branch that folds into the Mekong right there at the end of the peninsula, whose name of that river I forget. But it's, I think, probably the most popular tourist town in Laos. And it's just really cute. It is like a small, quaint little town, and it's kind of sleepy. Everything closes at 10:30 at night because that's when the night market closes. And it is fantastically cheap. You can live in quite luxurious accommodations in Laos for not a lot of money.
Huh.
I mean, like, to give you an idea, the exchange rate is 8,500 Laos kip to $1. So, you see stuff listed for like 10,000, and that's like $1.50.
Yeah. Okay.
So, they're like, oh, this one place has beer for 4,000. You're like, whoa. But what they don't tell you is that it's warm beer. That's how they get you. And they charge you a lot for the ice.
Ah.
That sounds about right.
How many times did you learn that lesson?
Never, because our tour guide told us about it before we had made it there.
So what was this is an important question. So I know in Tokyo, a beer is a beer here, right? Or sometimes even more, sometimes less. If you get local beer, it's probably less.
Yeah, generally local beer is cheap.
Yeah, I would assume Bangkok beer is probably like maybe half the price of U.S. beer.
Local beer in Bangkok is Chang, and it is cheaper. I would say there was about 300 baht, which is like 300 baht at like kind of an expensive place, and you're talking like 100 to 200 at a cheaper place. It's about 30 baht to the dollar, 33-ish maybe.
Okay, so not cheap.
Not always cheap. But, Thailand in general was not the like paradise of cheap things in general that people have sort of made it out to be.
Yeah, I have heard the same. Yeah.
Chiang Mai was less expensive than Bangkok by a decent margin. And when we come back to Thailand at the end of the trip, it also was not cheap there either. So.
Okay.
But Laos was quite inexpensive. And I think this was both of our favorite tour guides there. We took a really, really beautiful hike starting from like a local village. We sort of drove out into the mountain area and took about like a 6-mile hike through the jungle to the back of the top of a waterfall.
Ooh.
It was
the
really
backside of water?
No, like up the back of the mountain range to where the top of the waterfall was.
Oh, okay.
You could hike from the bottom to the top, but we did it the other way.
Right.
We
you started from the bottom, now we're here.
Right, but the bottom was 5 miles away.
That's that's the point of that song, I think.
Yeah. It was really, really beautiful. And the jungle, like, I'm not joking, the jungle was like, the trail is wide enough for you and, half of the person with you. And then 5 feet away is trees and vegetation so thick you can't see. So it was like really, really, except for like you come to a place where like, oh, this is a field and they're growing crops here or whatever, but you can see across that. And then at the edge of the field, dense vegetation again. So it was really amazing. Just a lot of like really pretty views walking in among the mountains there. And that waterfall was really, really fantastic. Also, a lot of very cool local culture and stuff in Laos. It's just very like a lot of our trip felt like it was like, hurry, 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 go see this, go see that. And Laos was very like low key and peaceful. So that was very nice.
Beautiful. And what was did we miss the local beer there?
The local beer in Laos is named Beer Lao.
Okay.
Yep, really, really inventive names in Laos. And as far as I can tell, there is no other beer other than Beer Lao made in Laos.
Well, it's communism, man.
Yeah. Well, in Thailand, we learned that home brewing in Thailand is illegal. The beer companies have manipulated the laws there to such a degree that no one does that, or they do it illegally. But you could find beer from like Cambodia and China and other places there. In Laos, no, it was Beer Lao everywhere. It was just like, which variety of Beer Lao did you want? Did you want the Beer Lao dark? Did you want the Beer Lao hoppy? Did you want the Beer Lao gold? Or regular Beer Lao? So
they're a little bit more communist than China. That's what you're saying.
No, but it was amusing because then, of course, we got to try all these different ones.
Right.
They tasted kind of the same.
Different colors.
The colors were different. I think we eventually settled on liking Beer Lao Dark the best, only because it was 6.5% and all the other ones were 5%.
Oof.
Yeah. Also, in general, talking about alcohol real quick, on this entire area, they don't really do cocktails very well. All of Southeast Asia and even Japan, not really areas known for cocktails. So if you're going to go to a cocktail place, make sure you know what kind of cocktails you're getting, because a lot of them are like the old highballs where you have like a whiskey and soda, but it's like a shot of whiskey and then half a glass of soda.
Oh.
And they call that a cocktail, which it is, but also it's not what we think of here as a cocktail.
Right.
So just be aware of that, everyone out there.
And in Japan, drink whiskey, because, wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of great whiskey in Japan also, by the way. So that was pretty much our time in Laos. It was great. From there, we went to Siem Reap, Cambodia, the home of the famous Angkor Wat Temple and associated temple areas, which I cannot recommend highly enough. I think that was probably my favorite place on the tour. We were not there for very long, but I wish we had stayed longer because everything there was also pretty cheap, and it was wonderful. So,
and that's again maybe one of the places where you can stand in a temple for hours, or no?
Totally could. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Angkor Wat itself
is massive.
The building is quite big. Yeah. There's a park around it. It's inside like a national park, which is like 50 kilometers or something. It's gigantic, the whole area. But it's not the only temple in there that is, part of this national park. There's also Angkor Thom, which is like an even bigger area. But there's like multiple famous temples inside that area. But Angkor Wat is kind of the most famous one, the old wonder of the world, the thing that people kind of you've seen pictures of it, even if you didn't know you have. And it's huge, and they just let you kind of walk inside it, which I thought was pretty crazy. If you go to museums and stuff here in the West, I feel like a lot of the paintings are kind of like, here's the rope, you stand behind the rope this far away and don't take pictures. No, you walk up those stone steps and you can touch the pillars and the stuff, but they don't want you to touch the engraved carvings and stuff. But the walls and the stone, the literal stone that they walked on all those years ago is still there. Large parts of it have been reconstructed, of course, because it literally was hidden in the jungle until the 1900s.
Jungle intrusion.
Yeah, trees had grown all the way inside and were, all over it. But as a testament to all that stuff, even they didn't have to reconstruct that much of it. And if you're ever curious about was this part reconstructed or not, you can just look at the color of the stone, and if it looks old, it's original.
Okay.
That makes
it
easy.
If it looks like a nice bright color like sandstone or cement or something, it's new. a lot of the like best and the carvings and stuff that are out there are reproductions, and the originals are in museums and stuff inside the national museums and stuff in Cambodia.
Okay. So they played a little loose because a lot of the originals are still protected.
Like, the entire gallery wall is like one giant carving. Okay, they took that one, right?
Right.
But there's like 800 other carvings on all the like smaller ones on the pillars and stuff and the pediments and stuff, and those are all original.
Cool.
So really, really awesome. Really unbelievable. And this was built in like the 1200s or the 1300s or something like this. And it's still standing, perfectly sound. You can go up the spires and walk around up there.
What's amazing to me, my wife has also been to Angkor Wat, and what was amazing to me about a lot of her photos of the surrounding buildings that were somewhat restored but not completely, is that in many places they just left the trees and stuff because it's replaced the building, and it's just as structurally sound as it could be if you then tore it down and rebuilt it.
Yep. There's a specific temple that I'm sure is the one you're thinking of, where literally it was completely run over by trees. There's like a tree growing on top of the building, and its roots are like reaching down out in front of it. They jokingly call it the Tomb Raider Temple because it was featured in the movie Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
Oh, was it?
2001.
Angelina Jolie.
Yep, the old one.
The OG.
Yeah, so there is literally a shot from that movie that you walk right by the entrance, and you're like, yep, that's that tree. This is that shot right here.
Oh.
And so it was filmed on site there. I guess they did like 10 days or something in Cambodia at the time. But it's a beautiful temple. Just I forget the name of it, but it's right in that area, like, you know, within a very short bicycle or car ride from Angkor Wat, where it's just like these trees that have completely overgrown and sort of knocked down, but sort of are supporting these galleries and stuff. Very cool. Though I cannot recommend Cambodia, Siem Reap specifically enough. It also has a wonderful nightlife, tons of really awesome restaurants and bars and stuff to go to. So markets and all that kind of stuff are really cool. Things are relatively cheap there, and it's great. So,
Cambodia has beer.
Yes. Trying to remember what the name of I think it's Angkor, Angkor.
It is, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
It tasted like beer.
It very much tastes like beer.
All of these beers pretty much are beer tasting beers.
I think so far of the ones that you have mentioned, the only one that I would have tried would have been Angkor. Because you can get that here.
There are, I mean, even if you could get beer lao here, no one would buy it because it tastes too generic.
Yeah.
Same with Chang, honestly.
But Tsingtao, you can get Tsingtao here.
Yeah, that's from China, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Chang. Yeah, it's nothing special. I mean, you know, there is I will give a shout out to, I think the name of it is Miss Wong's. It's a cocktail bar in the kind of pub area of
in the vein of real cocktails, or in the vein of
the vein of real, very strong, very good cocktails. Okay. I had a rose lemongrass martini.
Ooh, I would have one of those.
Extremely delicious. Yeah. All the food, by the way, everywhere we went was amazing. Like, I cannot talk enough about how great all the food was. We ate everything everywhere. It was wonderful. People, you just got to just try. You don't know what that sour fish soup is, but it turns out it's amazing. Like, you need to have it sometimes. It's, you know, we had this in Laos. We had a lemongrass chicken, which was, they took lemongrass reeds and kind of slit them down the middle in such a way as to, if you push the two ends towards each other, it would puff out and create a basket in the center. You can kind of imagine that. And then you stuff the middle full of like chicken mixed with a bunch of other stuff, and then you hold it there and you fry it.
Wonderful.
And then you take the lemongrass off and eat the chicken, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really, really good. So that was probably my standout food for the trip. And so from Cambodia, we went back to Thailand to Phuket. which is a beach area in an island off the coast of Thailand. And we did not really do much there other than relax.
as one should at the very end of anything like this long. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a very touristy area, like very, very high, like prices to the point where like things were not that far different from what they are here. Or more expensive in some cases. So we had a really great dinner of barbecued seafood down by the beach, which was wonderful. They just took like a whole blue crab and some tiger prawns and stuff and threw them on a barbecue, and then we ate them, and it was great. But otherwise, just kind of a lot of relaxation and going to the beach and that kind of stuff there. And then from there, we came back, and it was a wonderful time. I highly recommend that area of the world to everyone. If you want to check it out, I'm happy to talk more about it. Just let me know.
Podcasts
at WeWereGamers.com. Absolutely.
Vacation at no. What a trip.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome, dude.
And as you can imagine, while I was on the road, I did not really get a chance to play too many games. I listened to some music and played some phone games here and there, but mostly I kind of just unplugged and enjoyed the scenery. So.
I think that would be the only way to take a trip like this, is to kind of just leave all your digital stuff behind and just enjoy. Not completely, but
Yeah, I mean, I had my phone with me and stuff, but it was on airplane mode, so I was kind of just, when we had Wi-Fi, I would check in here and there, but it's just nice to be on vacation.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
Definitely.
While you were gone, we did talk a little bit about games. Not as much as I thought we would.
We didn't burn the place down.
No.
Well,
it's still standing.
I guess.
But vacation time when you stay home for that end of the year holiday season ends up busier than we expected. We did find a little bit of time to talk about what we thought we enjoyed most about 2018. There was like a little bit of discussion about why we thought maybe saying that we knew the best game of the year wasn't the right thing to do, but say what did we walk out of 2018 having enjoyed the most? And that kind of landed us on get a Switch and get Into the Breach, but I thought you should definitely weigh in because, excluding just touring Southeast Asia for 21 plus days,
right?
Like,
I was going to say I already talked about the best thing I did this year.
Yeah, let's not fair, really, on the scale that we were talking about.
We'll hold it to the gaming stuff that I did.
Doesn't have to, that I was thinking that it was kind of sad that we both came up with gaming things, because maybe next year we have to do a gaming thing and like a movie thing or something, because we do a lot of multimedia on here,
We do.
We did in 2018 so.
It's true.
Stranger
I really
Things
did
done.
enjoy seeing,
There you go.
I enjoyed Stranger Things this year. The Avengers, all that stuff. But I think my favorite moment was probably getting that really good, almost perfect Dead Cells run where you finally beat the last boss for the first time. You get you have the exact trap you want. You have the turret that you like and the bow, and your sword is the one that you like the best, and you just all the things finally click, and you have just gotten, you're like whipping your way through all the early levels. You finally get to that last guy you've died on a million times, because that's what happens in that game, and you're just like, okay, this time I finally have it, and you actually kill him for the first time. That was probably my favorite thing. Just like that moment, you're just like, yes, I finally figured this game out. I got it. And then you start the next run.
I just had that moment.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah. Just at the end of, I think, Friday.
Wow.
I beat the Hand of the King for the first time.
Yeah, congratulations, man. That feels
Thank you.
good, right?
It does. It does feel good.
I'm curious. We'll sidetrack ourselves here a little more.
We should try sidetrackers. This is a gaming podcast.
So they've rebalanced a lot of stuff since I stopped, or since I had that moment. I'm curious what your loadout, what your build was that you used or you preferred.
So I read some advice that trying to build a balanced character is kind of your enemy in trying to make a deep run. And so I saw a suggestion that I thought I may as well try it, to dump every skill point you could into tactics. so that basically your traps wind up overpowered, and then try and get a colorless weapon since they scale with whatever your highest stat is.
Yeah, the colorless stuff is super important.
And so that's what I wound up with. I think I had the lightning skill, which scales with tactics. And then I had a colorless sword, one of the fast swords, and then I had the same trap, 2 sinew slicers.
Sounds like you took a somewhat... I don't know the game, obviously, as I haven't played it, but that sounds like an aggressive build, or no?
Are the sinew slicers the ones that are like the grindy gears on the ground that just damage them and they bleed slowly, or
they're the ones that like they fire tiny ninja star looking things?
Oh yeah, okay, and they also do a little bit of bleeding though, right?
Yes, yeah, they cause bleeding damage.
Yeah, I
think so. Dropping 2 of those at once and just letting them tear through everything.
I think my preferred build was pretty similar to yours. It would be like mostly tactics. And then you pick a little bit of the other ones when the HP bonus gets too good to ignore.
Right.
You're like, oh, I get 5% damage or 20% hit points. Okay, well, I'll take 20% now.
Yeah, or you get one of the red-green and you don't have tactics as an option.
Right, yeah, totally. And I tried to prefer weapons that had the minus damage received on them rather than ones that had... I didn't use the shields, although I've heard from people that if you get good at parrying, the shields are super broken.
Yes, I saw some runs. I looked up a couple of people running the game after beating it, and they all seem to use the shields.
Yeah, I could never figure out the timing. But I did like those sinew slicers and it was one of the arrow ones, either the double crossbow one that shot both directions, or I forget, another one that shot arrows also.
Okay.
And yeah, you load up on tactics. You just make sure those are always doing something, and then you try and get your hits in where you can. Yeah, really cool. I loved that feeling. You get one of those, like a sword that's normally like a brutality and what's survival? Is that the green one? I think.
Yes.
You get a weapon that's normally those 2 colors, but you're all stacked in tactics. You're like, I want this, but it's colorless. So then now it scales with that anyway, even though you don't have any points in it or whatever. And it's always really cool. Anyway, that game is great. I have heard that they are like rebalancing literally everything in it. So possibly all our advice is useless.
Yep.
By the time that comes out, I don't actually know when that's happening.
I don't think the advice of saying that beating that game is the best thing of the year for you, or the best moment of the year for you.
No.
Like,
it doesn't take away from that.
Yeah, because it's not like they're going to make the game easier.
Yeah, and to be fair, like that, beating it the first time is not even really that. And I don't know, it's a run-based game. There isn't really an end, but that's not the like ultimate end of that game. There's still more you can do beyond that.
Sure, that's like FTL and all those other games.
Yeah, it has a boss cells mode where you get more stuff. Yes,
JJ,
sorry.
I have to ask you if you experienced the other side of the coin, and I don't know, which build of it you last played, but even in the current build, there are a couple of spots still where you can get stuck and can't get out. So there was one spot I was having a great run, felt really good about it, had a great loadout, and wound up falling down into a section. I don't even remember which one of the areas I was in now, but you have to be able to hit the button to open the door to get back out. You have to have the rune that you get from beating the Hand of the King, which I had not done yet.
Oh,
And so I did a quick Google search for how do you get out of this area, and all of the results were, sorry, hit restart.
Oh,
dang.
No,
that never happened to me.
That's
Most
rough.
of the times, I would say actually the vast majority of the times I died was because I was either trying to rush through stuff to get some of those speedrun doors, or I got dumb fighting an elite or something when I didn't really need to be fighting an elite, and it overwhelmed me, or like I aggroed more guys while I was running away and got murdered. Generally my fault.
nice. Well, I think that can be combined with our other advice because I think Dead Cells is on the Switch.
Well, yeah. Okay, there you go. If you have a Switch and you can play Dead Cells on it, you should do that because Dead Cells is a really good game.
And then you can get Into the Breach. Both on the Switch. I don't know if that sale has ended. They had a sale going on a lot of those games. I don't know if Dead Cells was part of it. I do know that Into the Breach was part of it, but yeah. Oh man. Well, there has been some, I don't know, recent news, and Michael, I think that you wanted to lead us off on this one.
Yeah,
that's been kind of going on. Yeah.
Yeah, this will lead into it. I saw this as a headline today. I know you guys both have Switches, and I think that you are both fans of Humble Bundles.
Yeah. Sure.
How would you feel about being able to get Nintendo games through the Humble Store?
Digital games?
Undoubtedly, because that's all they sell there.
I have complicated feelings about digital games after this weekend. This is part of the whole segment we're working on. I guess it's a good thing overall.
Yeah. They just today announced a partnership.
I think that generally more storefronts that offer competitive services and stuff is good. In general, that makes prices go down and all that stuff.
Sure.
I question whether Humble Bundle would actually be able to sell Nintendo games, or whether they're just going to be selling like indie games that are also on Nintendo platforms.
This is a Nintendo agreement.
Let me give you the rundown of what's currently available, JJ. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Okay.
Both Pokemon Let's Go, Super Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Party, Mario Kart 8, Mario Tennis Aces.
What are the prices on those, though? Standard pricing?
So they're standard pricing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I imagine that price won't dip very much or at all, the same way that Nintendo's other prices also don't dip. But, I mean, hey, great, I guess. More ways to get those games for people. That's
you don't have to only buy digital through Amazon or the Nintendo store now, I guess.
Yeah, yep. That's good. I generally feel, I usually think that more storefronts is good.
Why do you say usually?
Because I don't like when people do anti-competitive things.
So we're talking about a few different possibilities here.
I am talking about the Epic Games store, which also came out over this break.
Launched while you were gone, in fact, I think.
It did.
Yeah,
we did a little thing on that.
They a developer that I really like, Super Giant Games, launched their new game in early access on the Epic Games Store exclusively.
Who is Super Giant Games? What do they make? I don't remember.
They have made Bastion and Transistor.
Okay.
I think there was another game who I forget. It was like basketball something. I don't remember. Anyway, they've made great games in the past. I really love their art style and stuff. Their new game, Hades, is a run-based kind of little game, but it's in early access on the Epic Games Store. And it seems that the Epic Games Store, for whatever reasons, has kind of, I don't want the popular term is money hat, but I don't think that's a good term because it's pretty pejorative and doesn't really explain what's going on here. But it seems they've made exclusivity agreements with other titles that had previously promised to come out other places and now are not doing that, possibly for some exclusive period of time, but who knows?
Well, I know that they were doing, if you have the Unreal Engine, you don't have to pay.
Right. That is also an anti-competitive thing because who controls the Unreal Engine?
They do. But, I mean, that's their prerogative, right? Like, I don't understand how that's anti-competitive. They're not paying a fee because they're paying a different fee. I don't know.
They are using their market share and leverage against other storefronts in a way that those storefronts have no way to compete.
Okay.
Similarly, I don't like exclusivity agreements for the same reasons because I think people should just sell their stuff wherever they want to and let the consumers decide which storefront they like best based on what the storefront itself offers, not on whether Epic has an engine deal with these people, and so they run it through their store because they get more money.
Can I make a devil's advocate argument that you can challenge?
Sure.
Isn't an exclusivity agreement the same thing as PS4 only, Switch only, etc.?
In some of those cases, those companies received money from those platforms to make the game, like they funded the development.
Okay.
Which is different, right, than just saying, I'm paying you to not release your game on other platforms.
But if you are using the Unreal Engine, you're kind of getting money and then not paying for it because you're on that store, then you're basically doing the same thing, no?
I mean, I guess to be clear, I don't like when it's exclusive only to consoles either.
I agree.
It's also not good there.
I agree, but
it's bad there also. And what didn't used to be like that on the PC. It was kind of just an open marketplace, and now it is less like that, and that's the part that I don't like.
I kind of agree, but I've also heard some arguments recently about exclusivity agreements essentially providing better quality in games because then the developers, the head developers, or the console owners or whatever are putting more money out, and they have to one-up the other exclusives, right? So it's a weird world to live in, and especially because they have their engine involved in their store, it makes it much more palatable in a way, like for them to not demand maybe, but
it makes
incentivize.
It less palatable to me.
Why?
That's gross. They're wielding their power of like, here,
you don't have to use the Unreal Engine,
but like, why wouldn't you take more money? They're using a business thing that no one else can do to take their choice away from consumers to put it on their thing so that they stay in their ecosystem, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm again devil's advocate because obviously it doesn't sit well with most people, but
and I would care less if their storefront had similar features to the other, the market leader, let's say Steam.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't. And they are intentionally removing features because they say that's what developers want. Well, aren't they catering to customers? It's a store.
Right.
It's not. So who's the customer of their store? Is it the developer? Because it sounds like that's what they're aiming at. And in that case, well, then why would I ever shop there? They're not aiming at me. I'm the customer. So that's the part that really gets me the most about that place. And then they're giving away free games and stuff, which is a tactic many other storefronts have used. I can't fault them for that. Hey, free games are free, man. I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way, that whole situation.
What would have rubbed you the right way for them to start their own store, just overall? Start a store that's just a store with no advantage over anybody else?
Well, I mean, they would never have done it if that was what they were going to do, right?
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen different features, something new, right? Do something different, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing anything different. In fact, they're doing the same thing, but worse than the current platform. But, through other reasons, now they have things that the other platform now can't have, which sucks.
Okay.
If you're going to compete on features or something rather than on games.
Well,
product.
One benefit maybe of having the Epic Store and other stores opening up, something Michael and I saw this weekend actually was something that is gaining steam, and I don't mean that as a pun, but it does affect Steam the most. Review bombing. Have you heard about this?
Oh yeah.
So people that don't know what review bombing is, so let's say a popular game goes in and makes a very small edit to itself to change language or something like that. Like they got some complaints that they didn't like the fact that they used bad language or something, and as a developer they said, you know what, it wasn't necessary, so we went in and we removed all the bad language. Okay, well, someone on the internet gets upset about that because they feel slighted or something, and they pay a bunch of people or convince a bunch of other people to go out and buy the game to then just play an hour and then post a bad review on Steam.
Yep. It's certainly a problem. Steam is extremely vulnerable to that because a lot of the Steam algorithms that show whether your game is easy to see on the store or based on the review scores. So that's like a particularly bad flaw of how Steam does things. And that sucks. Like, people shouldn't do that anyway, just because you're like, express your actual opinion, right? If you play the game and you don't like it, that's fine. Say that you don't like it. If they make a change that you don't like, well, there are better ways to express that you don't like the change they made than to go and say you hate the whole game.
Well, so as Steam is now vulnerable to this type of stuff and doesn't seem to have any chance of stopping it or any built-in way to prevent these types of quote-unquote bombings of the
They don't
reviews.
seem to be interested in doing non-automated curation.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, that's definitely the key way to put that. And the waning influence of sites like GameSpot for, the Steam Store or Metacritic, maybe it's better to have a couple different options out there with stores that have, because you could, well, what's the reviews on the Epic Store say, or what's the reviews on the, because eventually the people won't be able to keep up monetarily of, tanking reviews on every platform.
Sure. There are already very many storefronts you could go to. There's Green Man Gaming, Win Game Store,
maybe not.
GOG. There's like tons of other storefronts out there on the internet that'll sell you download codes.
Mm-hmm.
I know you didn't mean it this way, but you were talking about reviews. The Epic Store doesn't have reviews. They are opt-in by the owner of the game who's releasing it. They can choose to allow reviews or not. So you can guess that every game on the Epic Store is going to have great reviews, and then every other game won't have reviews at all, so it will have great reviews. That's a pretty garbage way to run that system. So, but I know that wasn't your point, but I agree. There should be more, like having more storefronts and more competition is good. I just wish it was fair competition.
Since we're on digital storefronts, should we talk about, and you talked about Humble already, right? And they're offering digital codes, and ooh, that's great.
That is cool.
Michael, it brings up a good point. It's awesome that digital codes being more available for Nintendo systems is good. I'm sorry to cut you off there. What were you trying to say?
Oh, no. I was just like, it's great. That's like a really cool piece of news, especially since it's kind of hard to get digital Nintendo codes as far as I can tell.
Amazon has some.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were the first digital storefront, I think, outside of Nintendo. I have a bone to pick, maybe, with the future of gaming here. And it starts with a news story this week and ends with something I noticed over the break. So follow my logic here for a second. First problem, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit Lego were removed overnight from all digital storefronts.
Yep.
With no warning.
And that happens not infrequently from digital storefronts, usually due to licensing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing the Lego, you're talking about the Lego ones, right?
Correct, yes. The Lego Lord of the Rings games. I assume Lego lost the license, or the developer, or somebody.
Yeah. I was just double checking to make sure, yes, I have those games. I'm good.
So you say that now. I have those games, I'm good, right? What happens when the Epic Game Store or another game store finally comes along, and to set themselves apart to developers, they say, guess what? Our terms of service say that if you pull the license, the people that are on our platform lose access to the game.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. You would hope at that point, if that happened, the people on that platform would never, ever, ever buy anything from them ever again.
Yeah. Well, but it reminds me of the constant bickering that is involved with when you get into that scenario, right, where they just disappear, reappear, disappear, reappear. The constant, like, cable company, you're going to lose Fox and all these other channels starting on blah. And it happens every single year. And
it's pretty garbage.
I really don't think that we're excited for that existence, but part two of my noticing of interesting digital storefront stories over the break, sales. Nintendo especially didn't really used to have a ton of sales, so to speak, on their games. Especially like in the physical form, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed their Switch platform has quite a few sales. Mario and Rabbids and a bunch of other ones were deeply discounted on their digital store when they were not deeply discounted physically, really, after Black Friday or so. Do you guys think that there's maybe a coming future here where finally the sales on digital will start to poach physical sales enough that people will not make physical games anymore? I mean, we've entered the future we thought about, right? Where digital games have taken over. You shop on Steam basically exclusively if you want a PC game. You don't go to a store anymore, right? Or GOG or any of these other platforms.
You don't shop at a physical location.
I have not purchased a physical game disc for a PC game in years, right?
Yeah, right.
And consoles are attempting very strongly, it would seem, to join that future.
You know, that's similar to what people were saying at the beginning of this generation of consoles when the Xbox One and the PS4 were coming out. They were talking a lot about, download only and always online and all this stuff. I think, it's certainly trending in that direction, but the realities of internet in the United States is such that there are still too many people who don't have good access to high quality, high speed broadband. That download will never work for certain segments of the population here. And then that will encourage people to always have some amount of physical games be produced.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether they will maintain price parity with the online stuff, as you see, seems like that's kind of dying. And, I think that will probably be the way that it is. But I don't really see physical games as a medium completely going away. But who knows? I've been wrong before, so...
Well, so what would happen then when, let's say, because you're Nintendo and the way that Nintendo works is your games are tied to your Switch, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've poached so many sales. You've bought a bunch of digital games. Then they've taken the rights away and your Switch breaks. How do you get your games back?
The same way you got them back when you had this exact same problem on the 3DS or the 2DS or the DS or the DS Lite or any of those other consoles, Andrew.
Yeah, but you didn't have this problem because you bought them on physical cartridge. One would hope.
But they had digital storefronts there. You should have bought them digitally. And what happened? And what happened to those games?
Gonski?
They were gone.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I feel like this has been a bad month for digital storefronts. The Epic Store, the licensing problems that have happened towards the end of year, the sales only on digital. It's not been a good PR month for digital storefronts, and I'm glad we got into it a little bit. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I just want to say one thing. This is like you can lay that entire problem directly at Nintendo's feet. It really has nothing to do with digital storefronts in general. Because the other consoles don't have this problem. The PC doesn't have this problem either. It's just Nintendo products that work that way.
Okay. Well, so
that is, you can just say, hey, Nintendo, why don't you change your stuff to not work like that? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, snap your hands. It's obviously way more complicated than that, but the problem fixes itself, right? They could fix it. They choose not to.
Sure.
Which is lame. Extremely lame. Don't break your Switch.
Don't. Or... buy cartridges.
Yeah, certainly. I can say that I only own one digital game on my Switch, which I got for free as part of a Kickstarter. So,
Into the Breach.
Nope.
Because they don't make a cart. No, that's the only one that I own digitally.
Oh yeah,
on my Switch. Okay. JJ.
What? Hello.
Hey, hello. I think that we got to round it out a little bit, and we talked about. The last episode while you were gone, what game maybe you were looking forward to in 2019?
I will say that right now the thing I'm most looking forward to is being able to dig into Pillars of Eternity 2.
Ooh.
Nice
I think all the DLC has come out for that, which I owned since I backed that Kickstarter.
Nice.
And I think the game is out and patched and all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to playing that this year.
Beautiful.
That's another one of those epic RPGs. And then I think there's a bunch of BattleTech DLC.
That too. We'll get to that in a minute. In a hot minute, not a direct minute. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. Oh man. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our end of 2018, beginning of 2019. JJ's finally back with us on the pod. We can get back to the business of business. Looking forward, we've got, component classes to do. We've got some games to talk about. I know there's going to be homeownering coming in 2019 as well. Probably some games maybe that we play to talk about. BattleTech's Flashpoint, at least some of us have played, and more of us will have played by the time we talk about it.
Yeah, we'll set that as a goal.
I like it.
There's a lot coming here at We Were Gamers this year. Maybe by the time this airs, a few of the episodes will be up on YouTube.
Ooh.
It will happen this year. The YouTube channel will be populated very soon. And what I was excited about when I went in there to start doing this, by the way, it's a little behind the scenes production minutes to end the show. We can finally do things like, hey, if you're interested in component class, go to YouTube and play the playlist.
Ooh, smart.
Right?
Very smart.
Right? Things like that. Agent Zero Cool gets his own playlist. That sort of thing.
Nice.
It'll be fun. It'll be good. Welcome back, buddy.
Good to be back. I missed you guys too.
All right. Well, then now you're back. You have to do the thing.
If you remember.
If you want to contact us, the place is podcast@weweregamers.com, an email address. I will absolutely reply to it and tell you about stuff from Southeast Asia if you want to know. We are on Instagram @WeWereGamers, Facebook.com/WeWereGamers, Twitter @WeWereGamers. Did I forget any?
Hey, look around the internet for We Were Gamers.
Yeah, look up We Were Gamers on
because we got a lot of those accounts. We'll eventually use all of them.
Yeah.
Hey, reminder real quick as we end the show, Awesome Games Done Quick is going right now. Take a peek over there. Maybe donate some money to the Prevent Cancer Foundation if you can afford it. We don't ask people for Patreons yet on this show.
Oh my.
No, so I'm not saying people need to spend money that they don't have or whatever, you know what I mean? But it's a good cause, and speedrunning is awesome in the vein of watching it. I don't think I would ever get into it. But yeah, that's going on right now. That's good. Right? No? It's not good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go check it out.
Definitely.
Oh, JJ.
Yes?
So you'll be buying what is the Epic's next game on their show? On their they announced that big new game on their platform, whatever.
Yeah.